county. However, PEMA has given an incentive saying that they will supplement that and actually give more for a combined joint study among the 8-county region if each county would be willing to join together. So as I understand it, if you're so inclined, that would mean all 8 counties have indicated, at least initially, that they are willing to go together and would provide over $600,000 in funding from PEMA to do a comprehensive study of all the different technology that's being used by the 911 centers in each county and where there might be opportunities to share services. Some counties are doing, they call forklift upgrades where they're replacing everything. I think Dauphin and Adams are in the process of doing that. Lancaster, I don't know if they've chosen a vendor yet, but they're in the process of doing that. And of course, every county has to comply with P25 in the next couple of years, which we'll hear more about. We've heard a little bit about when Mike Grady and Dan Kaufman were in. So what I'm requesting here, or recommending is, and Dan Kaufman recommending, is a letter to PEMA indicating that Lebanon County would like to join in the shared services study.
Who's going to facilitate that, Jamie?
There's, as a vendor or the South Central Counterterrorism Task Force, or now they're calling it the South Central Task Force, I guess, is a body of representation from each county. So they will put out an RFP for consultants to propose.
So that is to be determined.
That's to be determined.
Okay.
Yeah. This is just the initial, letting PEMA know our intentions.
I like it that, oh, good.
That's all right, go ahead.
I like it that 2 of the contiguous counties are Dauphin and Lancaster, that, that's to be partnering in a study like this is probably a good thing that them involved.
Yeah, my question goes back to, I asked a question, you provided a response. It reads in there about giving up basically our 911 landline funds to the state. Is that part of what we're voting on or not?
Well, first of all, I don't think it says giving up.
Well, you can frame it any way you want.
Well, what I understand it to mean in the white paper, and I'm not sure I have it here. I think I read it.
Yeah, it's mine's online too. I was looking. I don't have it here.
What PEMA must do in the next, or the legislature must do in the next 7 or 8 months, is rewrite the Act 56 wireless legislation, because it sunsets. There's a fee, I think $1 or $1.25 on every wireless fund, and $1.25 on the landline that go to funding 911 expenses. And the Act 56 is the more recent. The wireless, as cell phones over the years have become more prevalent. But that wireless fee, the legislation enabling that wireless fee, sunsets June 30th. So after that, there will be no ability to collect that wireless fee anymore. So they're in a bit of a scramble right now to rewrite that. As I understand it, they're trying to combine all of these into one legislation.
And who is they?
PEMA.
Because
and the legislature.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's maybe I'm remembering wrong, but it was my understanding that CCAP does not support turning that funding over to the state because they changed the formulas and we could end up coming up even shorter on funding. And so I want to make sure I'm not voting to support that concept.
I think the white paper put that as a component of overall 911 issues that are on the table right now. But this, just going together on a study for shared services with other counties. Oh, the counties don't have a seat at the table for this legislation. It's really up to the legislature to how they want to combine it. I think they want all of them to be collected in one point and distributed differently, because right now, or distributed the same way, because right now Act 56 is all over the place. We put in a budget, we put in a request. We can't count on that funding because only a year later then they tell us how much of that request is going to be funded. It's just all over the place. Plus that Act 78 $1.25 on the landline has been diminishing over the years as people, get rid of their landlines and use their cell phones. So basically, it's a rewrite of all that. What's I think advantageous for us and a lot of other counties is our consultant, Mike McGrady, is being, they've turned to him, essentially, the House Committee has turned to him for a lot of input and a lot of work, really, on rewriting that legislation and his.
Is there a chance he might be involved in this?
Sure, I expect that he'll submit as one of the vendors, absolutely, yeah.
So the short answer is no, I'm not voting to support the consolidation of the funds,
No, the letter only states that,
just for the joint
Commissioning the
study.
study, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
wasn't something we were supporting in the study. So moved, providing I'm not voting to consolidate the funding.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to become involved in the 8-county study for 911 projects,
shared services.
shared services, and with Commissioner Litz's stipulation that we're not jumping on board with changing that. The other thing that I might add, and might give you some comfort, is I think once this study's completed, a county wouldn't necessarily have to agree with it or join in. We're just agreeing to do the study.
This is to identify opportunities,
Right.
identify places where shared services. To share services, you'd have to get into an intermunicipal agreement with the county.
So this is just to
to
look
do
at
that.
that. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
They never really gave a number. I had heard 30,000 per county thrown around initially. The only number I knew for sure was if 8 counties go together, it's going to be 655,000, which is quite an increase over 240,000. Sorry,
240, yeah.
if all 8 versus over 600,000.
It's
So,
more than
but
double.
I asked Dan. He didn't have a solid number yet. He had only heard some numbers thrown around.
Well, can I just bring up then that, if this is a possibility that they would be paying to join us all together and we still haven't built our backup PSAP, would it be something that would be routed through both right away? Is that something we should be moving forward in the interim?
Through both what?
The primary and backup?
I don't have an answer for that because I don't know how, this shared services study might result in a whole new concept. I don't know. I mean, your question assumes a backup facility, a bricks and mortar backup facility, and the study may come back and say, here's, because those 9
alternative to
counties,
that.
those 9 counties don't all have a bricks and mortar backup center.
Right.
So they're tied together.
Well, I guess I'm just looking at the conversation. We were talking about possibly what theoretically would be the backup would really become the primary and make the basement. McGrady was saying was the backup
That was one
for
concept,
numerous reasons, from flooding to them being in the building if there's a call because of the courts with a bomb threat and things like that. I guess we still have that bond issue for the PSAP, and we haven't moved that forward in any way, shape, or form, and I was wondering how we could get this off-center to move that.
It's entirely up to the 3 of you. I mean, you could move ahead with something. You could wait for these sorts of things to play out. What you're talking about was a concept that McGrady had proposed about a
Right.
backup downstairs and a primary somewhere else. Maybe this results, and I'm not committing anything or putting anything in stone, but it could result in a primary somewhere else, but no backup downstairs, and a backup be a shared thing potentially. I mean, that's just one of many
Or it could
things
clear
that
up
could come out of
space
it.
for something else downstairs.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I think that really the slate is clean right now
Okay.
going into the study.
I guess I'm just looking, I think we've drug it out so long, it's very frustrating to me. I just wondered, is there a timeline for this study to get done with the state?
I don't know. I don't have a date.
You don't have an answer.
No, I don't.
Because otherwise, are we waiting years or months or weeks? Because I really think that we should have a serious discussion about our PSAP again and decide what we're going to do. And if we have to wait on years, I don't know that that's acceptable.
Well, you have, what's in play is not only a primary and a backup, but also then P25 compliance, which every county's faced with. So, you know, you just have to keep in mind, do you move ahead
On a piece.
on a piece of it without taking into consideration P25, or you do it all at the same time? Obviously, that would be the wisest thing to do, is do it all at the same time. So, you know, there are a whole lot of ingredients here.
Why don't we find out what the scope or
Yes.
timeframe, if it's a couple of
Yeah.
months, that makes sense.
I would love to know a
None of
time
us
frame.
can
Yeah.
Say if we have years, you know,
Agreed.
to wait.
Because if that's the case, I mean, we're just in an unacceptable situation. You know, I'm committed to making things better for the 911 center. They're so cramped in there right now with that additional police desk and everything else. I just think we have to do better
What's that for?
from the city that we took over.
Oh,
Took
you
the
mean,
floor
yeah,
space. I
police
mean,
dispatch.
they're really cramped in there.
I'll see if Dan has a sense from I don't know when the next task force meeting is, but I know they're
Yeah,
quarterly or
I'd
something,
really
so-
appreciate knowing a time frame.
It might be advantageous to touch base with McGrady again too, in relationship to what he's done
McGrady?
for us. Yeah, with this concept, to see what his thoughts are.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think one of the things I did ask was to have McGrady come back in and talk to us. And
Do a refresher with the word.
Yeah.
And in relationship to this white paper, Jay.
Maybe after we get
Yeah.
through the budget.